Welcome to the family with
Packmaster, Ralph W. Basham, MD.
Todd Rasmussen.
That is the most adorable thing I've ever heard on a podcast ever.
Co-host Catherine Brandt, special guest.
Hi, I'm Morgan Freeman. And I'm Andy Bernard.
Who did not have a baby yesterday.
He did not.
No,
Just to
I
clear
did
that
not.
up.
Yes, we got to clear it up. They're expecting the baby, in 3 weeks?
I mean,
It could be any moment.
basically any time between now and late September.
Late September.
Andy was on the edge of his seat,
Mhm.
waiting for that baby.
I just read something, and I don't know why this was put on here like this, but I posted yesterday on Facebook. Great news. I just found out my friend Craig Gass is in town this week. I can't wait to see him. What a talent. And they have on here today at 5 p.m.
Huh.
You're not appearing at 5 p.m. today. That would be tonight at what time?
Maybe he's
At my show?
Your show is what? So they start
they don't start at
They
5.
start Wednesday.
tomorrow.
Yeah, Wednesday.
Tomorrow.
Wednesday through Saturday. No, I'm
Yes.
not performing on tonight.
A lot of misinformation going around on this podcast.
Yeah, apparently at
Notice.
5. So they said 5 p.m. What time did the show start out at New Hope Cinema Grill?
I believe it's a 7 p.m. show every night.
7 p.m. at New Hope Cinema Grill, which is a great room. Anyway, Catherine and I watched
Sure.
somebody walk out on Bobby Slayton one night.
Oh, yeah.
You're kidding.
Bobby was at
No.
New Hope Cinema Grill, sold it out, and there was a woman.
I was
Okay.
very offended within
She-
3
oh,
minutes.
God, 3 minutes. She was so
He
offended.
burst into
Really?
tears and ran away.
It was
I was like, welcome to
hilarious.
Minnesota.
Yep.
This is where we live.
But,
Wow.
but, I mean, as a comedian, you got to be uncomfortable when you're with a comedian. When
Yeah.
you're seeing a comedian, you got to be uncomfortable because that's
Oh.
part of
Wow.
the challenge you do. That's
The,
great.
the,
Yeah.
the gift of doing stand-up comedy, in my opinion, is being able to take people places they don't necessarily
Sure.
want to go, but they
There you
trust you to take them there.
And if you can't handle it, you find a comedian who's just going to sit there and tell you what you want to hear. And try a
Exactly.
couple
There's
of-
plenty of those.
Yeah,
And somebody
exactly.
told me years ago when I first started, I mean, this is 30 years ago when I first started doing stand-up, I'm going to send you to go see a guy named Bobby Slayton. Bobby is the best example of what I'm trying to tell you, that you can say anything on stage as long as you back it up with facts. And then Bobby comes out on stage and he starts going on this rant about where he goes,
I'm not, listen, folks, I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that everybody that's gay talks like this, but everybody that talks like this is gay. Yeah. But you want to talk about Bobby Slayton. You just got to drink a lot of coffee and smoke 12 cigarettes.
Yeah, he's very
That's
wound
very-
up. He's a wound up guy.
The great thing about that was, so Catherine and I are sitting there. Bobby had invited us to the show. We're sitting there.
I think we had Ralph and Lindsay
Oh,
with
yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
Mhm.
And this woman starts talking very loudly to her date. And then they get up and she's still yelling at her date for bringing her to the show all the way out the door. And the whole time they're chirping at each other while walking out the door. Bobby Slayton's looking right at me going like,
You know, that's actually a really good litmus test for a date.
agreed 100%.
Yeah, that
Absolutely.
is true.
If you bring somebody and they're all weepy over some sort of controversial subject,
Yeah.
then you know you got a snowflake on your hands and it might not make a nice life partner.
You guys are tapping into what is every comedian's favorite topic, which is talking about having bad shows. Yep. When comedians get together, they never go, man, I killed it last week in Houston. It's always, don't go to Tampa. God,
There you
what
go.
is wrong with those people? And whenever a comedian's not doing well, you'll hear a couple people laughing in the back of the room. Those are other comedians that are, I did a show once.
They're laughing at you, not with you.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a sick thrill of like, oh, let's see you try to get out of this one.
Yeah.
I did a show in Oklahoma City where this is it was a young guy opening the show, and he kept looking over on the left side of the stage. He seemed obsessed with something that was going on the left side. He was very distracted, and then he finally goes, ma'am, am I that ugly? You won't even look me in the face? Like she won't even look at me in the face. Like, what are you, freaking blind or something? Oh, are you blind?
Oh,
And the whole room just froze.
Oh.
And this kid made the biggest rookie mistake you can make in that moment. He tried to go back into his act and he said, so you guys ever go to Walmart? The whole room went, who cares about Walmart? You just made fun of a blind woman, you son of a bitch. They're all yelling at him. And he kept going, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Nobody's laughing except for me and one other comedian in the back of the room. We're high-fiving each other going, this is incredible.
I know.
How's he going to get out of this? I think I told you the greatest bomb I've ever witnessed was Dane Cook, right?
Yes.
Did I tell you about that?
Yeah. Oh God, we got to hear about it.
All right,
Alex
so-
just got here. Now we're talking.
My daughter's so happy to see me. Elated, enthusiastic.
I can remember telling the story the last time I was here that Dane did a show once on a Tuesday night. It was it might have been 1 or 1:30 on a Tuesday night. There's 6 people in the audience. One of the 6 people had all of his groceries on the table with him. Because we had a doorman named Bert Kreischer. Bert Kreischer is a famous comedian.
Sure.
And Bert used to be a barker out in front. He just, people walk by and go, hey, comedy show. You want to see a comedy show? And some guy walked by and said, I got my groceries. He goes, give me the groceries. I don't care. It's okay. No cover. Here, I'll help you. And Dane noticed when he said that, he goes, are those your groceries? And the guy said, yeah. And I've got ice cream. Like he put that on Dane like it was his fault. So Dane's trying to muscle through a set at 1:30 in the morning in front of 6 people who are just exhausted when one of the 6 audience members, who is hammered, gets up, stumbles across the room, closes the door, and starts violently vomiting in the corner of the room.
Gross.
To where the other 5 audience members can't pay attention because they're every 30 seconds you keep hearing and then there's a long pause and they all hear and the guy comes back out, stumbles over to his seat, and Dane Cook goes, are you okay? Are you feeling okay? Are you doing all right? And the guy goes, oh yeah, I had some bad comedy. Everyone goes, oh! Starts high-fiving each other. The guy with the groceries is throwing his ice cream in the air. Sprinkles everywhere. It's a thrill. It's a thrill to watch it. And Bobby is a guy that comes at you so fast and so hard that he doesn't even give you a chance to like think, wait a minute, should I be offended? Right. He just keeps steamrolling into the next offensive thing and the next offensive thing. And he's great.
He used to come into town all the time.
Yeah.
He hadn't been here in years now. He's too busy doing Skechers commercials.
Skechers.
No.
Yeah.
Is he?
Bobby Slayton does a voice for Skechers tennis shoes. Yeah.
I was going to say, I could have sworn he has a big voiceover gig somewhere.
He does, yeah.
So,
Skechers
Well, I
would be
wonder-
good.
Is he still working? Or is he still?
I don't see him on the road at all.
No.
Never.
I think his wife got sick. Or they were,
No,
I
his
feel-
wife passed in an auto accident.
Auto
I
accident.
think in
Oh.
Mexico.
Yeah.
No.
And
that's
that-
right. I
that-
think
I
maybe
think
that put
that takes the
to
breath
bed.
out of you for a
Yeah.
while.
Actually,
I think he
Mom
got
is
remarried.
right.
Yeah.
She got sick.
He married a woman named Teddy Tillett in 1988.
Yeah,
In
he got-
2016, she died of pneumonia.
Oh,
Yeah, they're on vacation, I think, when she died.
And yeah,
Wow.
he kind of has ducked out of the
I think
limelight
he
since
got
then.
married right away though,
After that,
or very soon.
Did he?
I
don't
seem to
know.
remember.
I don't think so. I don't think he's
or well, maybe
been
just a
remarried.
girlfriend then.
Here's what I love. Uncle Craig just scared both kids out of the room. They just got up
Which-
and left.
I got to say, when it comes to the guys that you've had on your show, I've got to be on the lower end of that scale when you've had people like Kinnison
There's
and
no lower end of the scale.
well, no, I mean in terms of being scary to kids. Like I would,
Oh,
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
A
that is
guy
true.
like Kinnison would really
Oh
scare.
yeah.
kids.
Oh yeah.
Did Sam ever did you ever invite? You have invited. I know like Rich Voss has talked about playing golf with you.
Right.
How often did you have comedians come to your house?
No, it used to come
Well,
all
we
the
used,
time.
well, we used to have the studio in our house.
Yeah,
so,
really?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, some of them expected to be fed and watered all day long.
Yep.
I was going to say. So
Which is why we got a studio.
did any comedian end up on the do not invite list?
Yeah, a couple of them.
Yeah, there was a lot of like, hey, where'd all the vodka go moments?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So like who?
I mean, not a ton, but it was probably like once a year we'd come back and a bunch of booze bottles would be like, I don't remember those being so empty.
Whoa.
Oh, that was downtown.
And
though.
That was
it
downtown,
seemed
yeah,
like
but
the
it was our
female
booze.
comedians got super political there for a while
Yeah.
and couldn't. They weren't
Really?
very funny.
We'd have them come on and they would just like antagonize everyone
Yeah,
just for no reason at all. I
Yeah.
don't know. It
Really?
only happened for a couple years, but it was
yeah, they were terrible
very
for a while.
bizarre.
Were you able to pinpoint who took the vodka, who took the booze?
We,
No.
I mean,
Oh, yeah,
there's
there's
at
some
least
thoughts.
one case that we know for sure.
Wow.
Who was it?
I don't want to say.
Go on.
have there been any other reasons that comedians were on a do not invite list besides taking the booze?
Comedian. I mean, well, aside from being bad,
That's really
there was
right.
plenty of
I
that.
think there
That's
seemed to have been
nice.
a contest for a while about who had the worst comedians
God,
on stage
absolutely.
between
Mhm.
Acme and sorry.
No
I know.
worries.
You know, we love you.
Well, this was like 8 years ago.
they were just so terrible.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
for a
and you
while
never
there, it
hear
was
of
just-
them anymore. I think it was just
No.
whoever got a big YouTube presence for a
Yeah.
little while. They were
Yeah.
booking them.
Well, they were just
I think
bitter.
they were cheap.
They were so bitter all the time. It was the
Yeah.
weirdest thing. I don't know. I mean, for a while there, we were doing the show. I mean, well, this show is, it's before noon. So there's a lot of comedians who are going to be resentful.
yeah.
Being asked to come in.
Yeah, that's true.
Or still under the influence.
Yeah.
Or still
Or that, or
hammered. Yeah,
hungover.
that's
Yeah.
true.
I mean, you're doing gigs at, 1:00 in the morning. You don't get to
Well,
sleep till 3. And then this
4.
radio guy
Yeah.
says, oh, you got to come on my show at 9. I get it.
The
But
some people
I don't
do
know.
change. The biggest change, and I still think the world of the guy, but he did change a lot, was he used to come in all the time, and then he got on television, Bobcat Goldthwait. He changed a lot.
Really?
He got very, very political.
Hmm.
I think he met Nikki, what was her name again?
Nikki Cox.
Nikki Cox. Yeah, there
Oh
you
my
go.
God. I did some scenes with her where I like choked her and made her my hostage in a TV show. In the TV show Las Vegas.
Oh.
Las
okay.
Vegas. Jay Moore was now married to her.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yep.
Jay Moore is now married to Jeannie Buss.
Oh, I didn't know
The
that.
LA Lakers. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did hear, but you're absolutely right.
She got,
Jeannie Buss.
is she now the owner? Is she?
Well, team's only worth about what, $7-8 billion.
Yeah.
Other
Yeah.
than that, though,
Yeah, but yeah, Bobcat, he let go of that character that he
Yeah,
had back
he
in
did.
the 80s, and
he, which is too bad because it
Mhm.
was
Well, I think
great
he wanted to go into acting more, right?
producing and directing.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he wanted to let go of that character.
he actually directed. I remember doing a show with Dave Chappelle at Caroline's, and this is in 2001, and
Before
he's
the slap.
he started Chappelle. Well, the slap was on Rock, but
Oh, that's
the
right.
slap
I
was-
keep
but
forgetting.
but Chappelle ended up getting attacked a few months later on stage in
yeah, that
Hollywood.
was,
Yeah.
someone like tried to punch him or
Oh,
something.
that's okay.
Yeah,
That's why I
someone
get
jumped up on
confused.
stage
Yeah.
with something in their hand that looked like a gun, but it was a knife in the
Yeah. Oh,
it was-
right. Yeah. Yeah.
It was crazy, but
Mhm.
I remember doing a show with Chappelle, and Chappelle at the end of the shows, he was doing every Monday night at Caroline's, and he was rolling out clips of this new show he had done called The Chappelle Show, and his opening act after me was Bobcat Goldthwait, because Bobcat
Oh, yeah.
directed The Chappelle Show for the
Yep.
first season.
Yep.
Huh.
Really?
Yeah,
Mhm.
which was surreal. And every time Bobcat would get on stage, he goes, "I know what you're thinking. What is this guy doing here?" Like, and it
God, he
was-
used to be so funny, and then
Mhm.
the last couple times I saw him, he just had such an attitude. I think his wife gave him the attitude. She another one of those deals, kind of like the the Mitch Hedberg thing. I don't think she liked me very much for some reason.
Wow.
That does happen.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's my favorite conversation to have with radio people. Who are your favorite comedians you've had on, and why? And who are the comedians who just didn't connect at all, and why? And you hear the same names in every city.
Really?
Yeah.
In
Oh,
both
interesting.
categories, you hear
Cool.
the same, like,
Cool.
oh man, one of the most incredible things I've ever heard is that Brian Regan, and I wish I could remember to be this organized. Brian Regan has a notebook that he would travel with, and when he did your show, he would make notes. I'm in Minneapolis, and this is the show I'm on. Here's all the topics I covered. And the next time he comes back to Minneapolis, whether it's a year, 2, 3 years from now, he opens up his notebook. to see what he covered last time, and he makes sure not to repeat the material.
Wow.
That's a good idea.
Which, when I start to tell stories, and Andy goes, "Yep, we heard it." I go, "Oh man, did I already tell you that? Damn it! Like I have no memory of what I said the last time I was here, and I should be that organized."
You know, the restaurant in Chicago, Gibson's
Mhm.
Steakhouse used to be Sweetwater. They used to keep a book on traveling guests at the
Really?
bar. And they would, so if Jim came in from Iowa and Jim was at the hardware convention, they
Mhm.
would talk to Jim. He would buy a drink. He might come in with a couple of friends. They'd talk to him, chat him up. Then afterwards, the bartenders would make little notes, his kids' names, drink he does, things like that.
Get out.
Next year, the hardware convention, Jim comes into the restaurant because he had a good time before. Comes in, he would say, "Jim, it's good to see you. How are the kids? Here's your drink. Oh, are these your buddies?"
Oh my God.
So if they brought buddies, then this guy felt like he was in his private club, even though he was there
Yeah.
once a year.
See, if I went to a bar and some strange bartender was like, "So, how's Ethan?" I'd be like, "Oh my
No,
God."
Yeah, but you've been there before. And
I
you
wouldn't
told-
remember that. Are you kidding
but
me?
people, it was a beautiful, and so that made you so comfortable.
I think
I mean,
I
that-
think
that's-
our doggy daycare center could take notes on that because I could drop the dog off
I
1,000
know.
times a week and they would never know who I am.
Yeah, that's true.
I do have to say, this is not quite the same thing, but every time I come here, I always stay in Eden Prairie. I always stay at this hotel. The location's perfect. It's right across the street from a TV station, Hyatt Place.
Okay,
Yeah.
no one
And so when I do morning television, I can just get up and walk across the street and do a television appearance. And years ago, it was late at night. I came down to the lobby and I said, "Hey, do you know where the closest place here that I can get some chocolate milk?" And they said, "Well, there's a 7-Eleven, And I said, "No, that's crap milk. I need like dairy. I need like I need a Walmart." And they said, "Well, there's a Walmart, but it's like 15 minutes." And I go, "15 minutes where?" And they go, "All right, weirdo." And they gave me the directions.
All right.
And then I
weirdo.
go to that Walmart and I came back with a gallon of chocolate milk. It was a half gallon of chocolate milk. And I was drinking it as I was walking through the lobby. I said, "Thank you." And a year later, maybe 2 years later, I come back to Minneapolis. I'm staying in Eden Prairie at that Hyatt Place. And I check in and someone goes, "All right, Mr. Guest, here are your keys. You're on the 4th floor and your room has been prepared." And I said, "Okay." I go to
Well,
my
I
room.
should hope so.
There's a bowl with ice in it and chocolate milk bottles in the ice.
That's
That's
phenomenal.
very
It was
nice.
the coolest thing ever. I took pictures of it. I posted online. I said, "Look at this place. These guys are so cool." And a little thing of cookies. Oh,
Very nice.
I love chocolate milk. Gives me gas, but I love it.
Oh well, good information.
Yeah,
You know,
I do.
Well, you drink a half gallon, it's going to do that to anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do love chocolate milk. It's life has changed. It's not going home to get hammered after the shows anymore. It's chocolate milk and ESPN.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think Brian Regan, he's on Loudermilk, right?
Yeah.
Oh
Hey,
yeah.
he does a hell of a job on there. He's very good on that show.
Yeah, he's great. He's just, you've had him on the show, right? Brian
Mhm.
Regan.
Mhm.
It's just fascinating to me how much comedy history has come through your show over the years. And
Well, I got very lucky there. I really did. And it was because, like the first appearance you made, the same situation where people didn't expect
anything.
anything, I guess.
Yeah.
And I've always loved comedy. I mean, I think maybe it was because of Johnny Carson, because that guy loved comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of followed his lead with that whole situation. It's like that show, The Tonight Show, to me was so great because Johnny had such a great sense of humor.
You guys, because of you guys, I became friends with Louis. And Louis would tell me stories that were incredible. And he had a Johnny Carson story that he became a star from one appearance
You sure did.
on the
Yep.
Johnny Carson show. And he said, like, I recognize
Yes.
so much all the time that he got used to it very quickly. And he said, a few months after my first Carson appearance, I am double parked in front of a dry cleaner.
Sounds like Louis.
When a guy pulls up next to him, starts honking and waving at Louis, and Louis goes, "Hey, hi, yeah, it's me, hi." And the guy goes, "Roll down your window," and he rolls down his window and he goes, "Move your car, you asshole!" Oh, sorry. Oh my God! Like he thought the guy recognized him and was a fan.
Yeah,
Wow.
he told me one time he knew he had really made it when his name was in the New York Times crossword puzzle.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Said he
there
knew
you go.
that he was really famous when that happened.
Wow, that is absolutely true.
Did you ever hear the story about going back to Johnny Carson for 1 second, about Mike Wallace interviewing Johnny Carson's mother?
No.
Oh, God, I'll never forget this as long as I live. Johnny Carson told this story, actually. And I'll look. Was he at the Carlton Celebrity Room, Catherine? Is that where I think Johnny appeared at the Carlton Celebrity Room back in the old days.
Probably. That sounds like
so.
a venue that he'd do.
But he told me this story about, I said, you have so many great moments. You must not have any really, bad moments. He goes, oh, yeah, absolutely. And he told me a story about his mother was on the Mike Wallace show. Was it 60 Minutes?
60 Minutes.
Yeah, 60 Minutes. Mike Wallace flew to, I think she still lived in like
Nebraska or something?
Nebraska or something. Yeah, I think Nebraska. So he flies in, and Mike Wallace told Johnny this story because he interviewed the mother, and he said, I don't know if I should run this on 60 Minutes or not, Johnny, because it didn't work out very well. He said, why? What happened? He said, I came to meet your mother. She was very pleasant, very nice. And then I said, is it okay if I stay and watch the Johnny Carson show with you tonight? Because I just want to get your reaction on it. And she said, yeah, that's fine. So we sat there. We watched the monologue. Your mother stood up, walked over to TV, turned it off, and said, that wasn't funny at all.
Oh, my.
His own mother. Oh,
Such a darling.
Oh my God.
Maybe it was dry humor.
Yeah, maybe it was very
Wow.
Sometimes you wonder if some
Oh.
parents get jealous of their kids'
Yeah, I bet.
success, or
Tons, yeah.
I feel like there's some parents out there that are like that.
That is a incredible part of success, that there are people close to you in your life that will,
Yes.
that are the other side of it, that will keep your headspace in somewhere else. Because of,
Yes.
And they'll tell you no wire hangers ever, you mean?
yeah.
Oh, yeah. No wire hangers.
It's crazy that the mentality of some of these people that, I mean, I always love hearing the origin stories for when guys found that moment where they just, something clicked and they figured out their path and their voice. Like Richard Pryor famously ripped off Bill Cosby for years.
Yeah.
He was obsessed with Bill Cosby because Bill Cosby was the first black man to ever appear on the cover of Time magazine. He wanted to be Bill Cosby, and he had Bill Cosby's cadence, his delivery, his style, until one night in Vegas, I think it was Vegas, he just snapped because of the pressure he was getting from the promoter. And he started saying the N-word on stage.
Oh, I remember.
And
Yes.
it was so divisive and so offensive that he just loved the power of being free to say whatever he wanted. And he got fired, but he changed his path. Sam Kinison, Carl LeBeau has this story about picking up Sam Kinison in the early days when they're working at the Comedy Store. Carl picks up Sam Kinison, who's in the middle of a vicious fight. When Carl gets to the door, he knocks on the door. He hears pots and pans slamming and dishes breaking, and the door opens up. And Sam goes, "Let's go, let's go, let's go!" They run out. They get in the car and they just drive over the Hollywood Hills to go to the Comedy Store. And he said the whole time Sam's just decompressing. So he just leaves him alone, gives him some breathing space, and they get to the Comedy Store. He walks up on stage, and in the front row is a young, attractive couple being very affectionate to each other. And Sam goes, how long have you guys been dating? And he said, oh, about 4 weeks. And he's like, yeah. Are you guys in love? It's like, I think so. He's like, yeah. Are you thinking about getting married? He's like, oh, I don't know. He goes, well, if you're thinking about getting married, I want you to remember this face. As you get married, that's your fucking face for the rest of your life. And he gets off stage and he goes, oh, did you feel that? And Carl goes, dude, I felt it. That was a raw moment. And then he realized, I'm onto something. There's something about that scream that he was onto something. And then that changed his path. And
it was unbelievable.
Yeah, his scream could trigger fight or flight.
Yes.
For sure.
Absolutely. You know, I spent time with Carl the last year that he was alive, I kept him company while he was dying of cancer. And we just talked about comedy, and it was during the pandemic. So I didn't have any place to be. So I kept him company, and we just shared stories. And man, his stories about him and Sam starting out in the clubs it's bananas. The experiences they shared. That he said on the way from Houston to Hollywood, Sam mapped out the route to stop at churches where he knew where they hid the money for the churches. And he said, I can pick up cash along the way. Yeah. And we'll go. It was just like, he goes, all preachers have a stash of cash, and I know where to find. I mean, it was insane. The point of view that Sam came from with his religious background, you know.
Oh, he was he was going to be a preacher, I know.
Yeah, he was part of a traveling ministry.
He was. Okay, that's what.
And he was preaching the gospel, and after he got divorced the first time, he said that and which, by the way, his first marriage, and it's covered in the book, his first marriage, he suspected that his bride had recently cheated on him before the wedding. Oh. And so on their wedding night, he sets up this conversation where he tells his wife, he says, honey, gosh, he started getting really emotional and said, God, I feel really terrible. I have a secret I need to tell you. And she goes, what's this? You can tell me anything, honey. And he said, well, a couple of weeks ago, I got together with, I ran into my ex, didn't think I was going to see her again, and then we were talking and we ended up kissing, and I feel terrible about it. And she goes, it's okay. It's okay. And he goes, because I love you so much. And I didn't mean for that. She goes, it's okay. And she goes, you know what? I'll tell you the truth. She's like, I actually met up with somebody and I had sex a few weeks ago. And he goes, I knew it. I was lying. You whore. Oh, yeah. Oh, and that's how he spends his wedding night. Oh. Just tortured. Wow. Absolutely tortured. Yeah. Oh my God. Did I ever tell you that story about Bob Costas doing an interview with Sam and saying that he had been seeing him for years? There used to be a late night show. The NBC lineup at night was The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, followed by Late Night with David Letterman, followed by Later with Bob Costas.
Oh gosh, that's a while ago.
And Bob would do a one-on-one interview. The whole 30 minutes was just one guest. He had Sam Kinison on his show, and he goes, Sam, I used to watch you back in the early 80s at the Comedy Store before you were famous. And back then, your entire act was based on that day's obituaries. And he said, I remember watching you and thinking, you know what? This guy's brilliant, but he's too dark and he's never going to make it. And Sam goes, wow. Yeah, I remember that. I do remember that. And he explained the bit. Sam Kinison used to walk on stage with today's obituaries. And he'd get on stage and go, hey, folks, my name's Sam Kinison. I want to thank you guys for coming out. Thanks for supporting stand-up comedy. I'll tell you a couple people that you won't be seeing here tonight. And he'd start reading the names of people who just died today. And go, like Esther Goldberg. Wow. No, she's not here. She didn't catch the bus. But apparently, if you want to see her work, it's going to be on display on Sunday at Evergreen Mortuary. Like, it was just, oh my God. It was so dark. Yeah,
there was a story that he, in that car accident, matter of fact, it just came up yesterday. In that car accident, he was walking down the side of the road talking to God.
Yes.
That's a true story.
Yeah, Carl LeBeau was the one holding him. Carl talked about that he was... Carl was in the car behind him.
Right.
And then the car, Carl hears Bill, who's driving, going, oh, no, watch out. And he hears a smash. Oh. And then they pull over to the side of the road. The whole front end of Sam's car is smashed up. He's stuck to the wheel. And Carl comes over and tries to get him out of the car. He gets out and he goes, no, buddy. He goes, lay down, buddy. Here, lay down. And he has him lay across Carl's lap. And Sam's looking up into the sky, and Sam goes, what? No. And he's like, it's okay. He goes, no. I'm not ready. What? Oh. Okay. Okay. And then he passes.
Wow.
Talking to God.
Yeah. And he
Whoa,
said he
that's
felt him go through his soul. And then yeah.
Really?
Oh my
I just
God.
got heebie-jeebies.
I
Yeah.
did too, actually.
Yeah. Carl is just such a great storyteller. And then, there's this crazy PS to that whole story because Carl ends up in this he had been in a toxic relationship with a woman that started in the middle of the height of the whole touring around with the drugs and the booze and everything. And so he falls in love with a woman and they get married and they have a kid, and Sam passes, and now he's going through this divorce, and she's just squeezing him for money. And he calls her up one day and says, listen, I know you don't love me anymore, and I know you have feelings, and you have every right to feel the way that you do, but I'm begging you as a human being, the money you're trying to ask for is based on an income I don't have anymore.
Oh yeah.
I was doing arenas. I can't even get into a nightclub anymore. I'm begging you as a human being, please work with me on this. And she started crying and said, I'm sorry. And he said, why are you sorry? And she goes, she's not yours.
Oh God. Oh God.
Mamma
He
mia.
said, what do you mean she's not mine? And she goes, she's Sam's.
Oh God.
And the woman,
What?
the girl that he was raising
No.
as his own, he gave me this picture, by the way.
My
The
word.
woman that he's raising as his own is not his. The girl that he was raising was Sam. And look at this picture.
Oh yeah.
She goes, yeah.
It's
Oh,
It's-
oh yeah.
No, yeah.
It is crazy how much.
God.
And what's
Yeah.
crazy about it
She
is
looks exactly like
she
him.
looks exactly
She
like him.
does.
And years before Carl told that to me, it was a crazy rumor at the Comedy Store. Comedians would go, you ever seen Carl's kid? Dude, she looks she looks just like a little Sam. It's
She
crazy.
does.
And before he passed, when he finally confessed that to me, he said, you know what the really evil part of that is while Sam was still alive, he would make jokes about it and go, yeah, doesn't that kid look like mine? I think a kid looks like me. And then he pulled Carl into another room and go, hey man, listen to me. He goes, you know I love you, right? You know I would never do, you know I'm just making jokes, right?
Oh.
Oh,
yeah.
so he was lying to
He's
him.
lying right to his face.
Wow.
Right to his face. And he has all these memories. And the crazy thing is the picture I just showed you is when she turned 18, she just showed up at one of his gigs and he's about to go on stage. And she goes, Carl? And he goes, yeah. And she goes, I'm Angel. And he goes, what? And then he, please welcome Carl LeBeau. And he goes, stay, I want to talk to you. And he ends up hanging out with her all weekend and spending time with her. And she says, you know, you're nothing like what my mom said you are. You're very nice.
Really?
But my mom won't tell me anything about my real dad. Can you tell me what he was like?
Oh.
And he goes,
tough.
I have to set aside all my personal feelings and I have to give this girl what she deserves
Yeah.
to know
God.
about the good sides of her father. Oh,
Boy.
That's tough.
That
Some
man-
heavy stuff.
that man went through some really heavy stuff. It's crazy. It's really, really crazy.
Well, it's interesting though, because I mean, if she was a gold digger, was she? I mean, it sounds like she probably was. The mom.
Well, what's funny is
why wouldn't she have hit up Sam?
well, because she's the wife is actually part of a really well-off family.
Oh.
And so the girl tried to connect with her biological family and they're not letting her in. They're not allowing her. She needs 2 DNA tests. She needs 2 blood tests from the brothers to confirm that she is a match and that she actually is the biological child of Sam. And one of the brothers refuses to do the test. And it's the one who's controlling the estate. Yeah, it's
Wow.
crazy.
Oh.
This might be the worst way to sell a comedy show, but I'm performing at New Hope Cinemas this weekend. New Hope Cinemas, cinemagrill.com. I'm doing 6 shows this week from Wednesday through Saturday. You guys have been in New Hope many times, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Over the years?
absolutely.
We did our 500th episode spectacular there.
We
Did you really?
How many episodes are we up to now? I don't
Let's
even. Do I
see.
want to know?
It's 2615 today.
Whoa.
Isn't that just stupid?
Been a few.
Really?
We've done a
It's
few.
incredible.
Every day.
Wow.
For 12 years,
Hey.
almost.
Yeah.
But what are your breaks? Like Christmas, you take some time off
Yeah,
on
and
Christmas.
not
Probably
much,
take,
not
like,
really a lot. We take
3
like a
weeks
week.
off a year.
Yeah, a year. I know.
Really? 3 weeks a year.
Yeah.
About that. Yeah, Christmas.
Tom is a workhorse. He just can't. He can't comfortably take more than a week off at a time.
Yeah.
Or he.
It's
goes a
basically
little-
Christmas, 4th of July, and then the few days here
years
and there.
and years and years of radio and having rating sweeps and ratings. He just never felt like he could.
Yep.
And I'm like, it's like, okay, so you take 2-3 weeks off, ratings go down. You come back, ratings go up. Isn't that
Mhm.
job security?
Yeah.
Come on.
Prove
Work with
they
me
need
here.
you.
But he just, if there was any little drop in the ratings, it
Yep.
was a crisis. So
Mhm.
he's
Well-
just trained to work, put out content.
Also, there's just stuff that's going on in the world you want to talk about. You want to come on and
Do
have
we?
conversations.
Should we?
You know?
Can we?
Is there stuff that goes on at home that someone will wait till you're on the air to bring up?
Oh, yeah,
Like,
definitely.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that isn't. I mean, there's through the years, I've been sworn to silence for not telling Tom anything because it's like when Alex got her first period.
Yeah.
She doesn't want Dad, announcing that on the
Right.
air.
Well, it's like
that
how-
kind of stuff.
it's
It's
like
like, you
how-
just can't tell him a lot of stuff because he's talking every day for 4 hours.
Yeah.
And you need 4 hours of content.
Yep.
You
that's
got to
have-
keep yakking.
You have to talk about stuff. It is crazy
Yeah.
to me when I talk to comedians about how to get radio. I always tell them it is so much easier than you think. Radio guys who you look up to need 4 hours of content every day.
Yep.
So if you have an idea, submit it. Send an idea and say, hey, I have an idea for a bit. I have an idea for a voice on the show. How funny would it be if we had this character
Sure.
taking on this angle on every topic or whatever? And those guys are going to be receptive to it because they are looking for content.
They are.
And when you run out of subjects that are safe, you start looking towards subjects that are not safe,
That's
just
right.
to keep conversation going.
That's absolutely right. Fawn last night. So all of a sudden, Fawn's spending the night last night. She's 8 years old. So she sleeps on a little blow up bed in the bedroom that I'm sleeping in. He's sleeping in the other room. Fawn's over. The dog is snoring like crazy because he spent 7 hours at doggy daycare.
Oh,
Then
so
we
he's
brought him
worn
out
out.
to a playground and he got to run around and he got to go out to dinner. So the dog he's 11 years old. He was just, he's gone. So he's snoring up a storm. So I'm like trying to get some sleep. She's making little kid sounds. He's snoring. So she said, so Nana, how did you sleep last night? I said, oh, it was a little rough because didn't you hear the dog snoring all night long? She said, well, I did hear him a little bit, but it's nothing compared to the night that I spent the night sleeping next to my dad because there was a thunderstorm and I was afraid. He was snoring so hard. He was snoring so hard, and he had salmon for dinner.
Oh no!
And then he got up and went to the bathroom and he drank some electrolyte water,
Oh no!
and that was even worse. I mean, I'm just cracking up. And now she's talking about salmon breath and electrolyte water. You can smell it. I mean, kids tell the greatest stories.
They really do. That's the podcast. A friend of mine that I grew up with, Kirk, he has this amazing story that gets brought up every time the family's together for any holiday or anything. That apparently it was his wife's mother had passed, and so his wife's sister called the house. One of the kids picked up the phone and said, hey, honey, is your mother home? And the kid goes, nope, she's at the grocery store. And then so his aunt says, all right, well, honey, you need to tell mommy to call me because grandma passed away, honey. So it's really important that mommy calls me when she gets home. Okay. And he goes, okay. Hang up the phone. A few hours later, they're all in the car driving to go out to dinner. And Kirk's wife turns around in the back seat, sees the two little kids, and says, "Are you guys excited about going to Grandma's house for Christmas?" And the little kid goes, "Oh, speaking of Grandma,
Oh God,
she's dead." And that's how she found out that her mother passed.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Oh.
Grandma,
Mhm.
she's dead.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep,
Well,
kids.
That was our Linkletter show. Was the kids
Oh,
say the
kids
darndest
say-
thing?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
his whole thing. He just made a
Absolutely.
fortune off that.
Mhm.
Oh, I remember. I don't know how many times Louis Anderson would call, and Andy would answer the phone, and they'd have a 10-minute conversation.
yeah.
How old was Andy at the time?
Around 10, 12, something like that.
And they'd have
Yeah.
a 10-minute
Oh,
conversation.
absolutely. Long conversation. Make sure and tell your mom to call me back. I need to talk to her. I'd never hear about it.
No, never.
And then Louis
Andy would just go, "Man, I really like that, Louis."
Louis would call me and say, he said he'd write it down. I had him make sure I had to talk to you right away. Yep, that's Andy.
I was
don't-
right in the middle of a round of Mario Party, and you can't really.
Yeah, exactly.
There were a lot of people that were like, Andy never gives you my messages.
My memory it was a lot worse. It's still not
No,
great.
it was because you were playing video games. They were interrupting you, and you just had no
No, I
recollection.
legitimately have a very, very bad memory.
Oh.
I mean, I got it from you.
Hey.
Oh my
Hey!
goodness.
What?
Hey.
Hey.
Gross is almost. I gotta tell
Wow.
something very
Right
quick.
under the bus.
I got up to go out because the kids wanted me to come out. I got a little message.
Mm,
They wanted me to come out there. I go out there and they go, "Here, I just wanted to give you a new Pepsi." And I went, "What?" And Alex goes, "Do not open that." They took them all out,
Oh.
shook
Oh,
Oh,
that's
nice.
hilarious.
them. Had I opened one, it would have sprayed all over me. That's really nice. Nice grandkids we got.
Yeah. They're
I-
entering that phase.
When I was still partying and going crazy, I was always scared to be around kids, especially when people would hand me their babies. I'd go, "I don't want to drop this kid." I get really nervous.
Yeah, you know.
But I think about 10 years ago is when I had my first conversation with a friend's kid that I thought, wow, I really relate to this kid. We were hanging out at a baseball game, and my buddy said, "Hey, I'm gonna go grab some snacks. You guys want anything?" And he left me with his kid. His kid is 12 years old, and we're talking, and we're talking about stand-up comedy, and he loves comedy, he loves funny movies, and he goes, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" And I said, "Yeah. What do you want?" And he said, "Is it true that if you fart in a can and then close it, that you can light the can and it'll explode?" And I go, "Well, I'll tell you what I know about farts." I said, "I don't know if that's possible. I've heard that too, growing up, that you could do that. But I have a friend that I grew up with named Rick, and Rick told me you could light farts." And he actually did it. He had a lighter and he lifted his legs up, and a little flame came out, but then the flame went back in and it burned his whole butt. and he said, "Really?" And I go, "Yeah." I go, "But I don't know about the can." And it was the most connected conversation I'd ever had with another human being. It's like, you know what? These are questions I've had about farts. And I just thought, man, I really relate to this kid. I really understand this. Like,
The trusted uncle.
it
You
was
ask them
like,
questions you're not going to ask your family.
No
because they're
one-
going to be like, "Don't you be doing that."
yeah, no one will answer this question. And I was
Right.
like, look, I'll do what I can to research this, but I absolutely am with you. I don't know if this is possible.
Well, now
but-
there's YouTube, and I'm sure there are a lot of videos
for
of
sure.
people doing these kinds of things.
for sure.
I could, yes. People are texting me also. You do one show Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
One show Wednesday, one show Thursday, 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday.
Okay, good.
And I haven't told you yet, I'm putting out 2 comedy specials before the end of the year.
Oh, nice.
The first one, believe it or not, is me just making fun of Kiss for an hour. That's the whole show. I'm just making fun of the band Kiss for 1 hour.
Okay.
And on the Wednesday and Thursday shows this week, I'm going to dedicate most of those shows to doing that kind of a set, just making fun of Kiss for most of the show. And all these years of doing stuff with the band and developing a relationship, because I started doing an impression of Gene, and Gene didn't like the impression, and he got on a plane and he flew to New York and he confronted me live on the air. And then
Oh my God.
and there was this incredible twist that happened the next day when their management company McGee Entertainment called me up and said, "Hey, Craig, we represent KISS. Wanted to reach out to you and tell you that our singer, Paul Stanley, is your biggest fan." And I said, "Get the hell out of here!" And they said, "Yeah, don't tell anybody, but Paul Stanley loves when anybody makes fun of Gene Simmons. Like, get the hell out of here." I said, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, he's going to call you. He wants to talk to you about something." He called me and offered me a gig performing with KISS on an event called the KISS Cruise. And I said, "So do you want me to introduce the band or do you want me to do stand-up?" And he said, "Well, let me ask you a question. How many jokes do you have about Gene?" And I said, "Literally hours." And Paul Stanley goes, "You got the gig."
You got the gig, baby.
"Really?" And he had me come out. He just encouraged me, do as many jokes about him as just roast him, just make fun of him. And I performed with KISS a half dozen times now, doing that thing, doing that joke, which, the fans don't like me anymore because of the joke I made that they took, about the story about the fans hating me for an announcement that I made.
Yeah. Oh, yes. You should tell that
I don't
story.
remember it.
When I did that KISS cruise, there was a cruise director that I met, really nice woman who she was really upbeat and peppy. She's like the Julie McCoy of the KISS cruise. And she said, "Oh my God, you're Craig. You're the guy who does all the voices with the Family Guy and do you want to do a funny announcement on the ship tomorrow morning?" And I went, "Oh, yeah, I do."
Yes, I do.
I said, "Well, let me ask you a question. If I make an announcement, who's going to hear the announcement?" And she goes, "Well, if you want, we can flip a switch and it'll get piped into every cabin." And I said, "Flip that switch. I know exactly what I want everyone to wake up to tomorrow morning." The next morning, 3,000 of the biggest KISS fans in the world at sea woke up to bing bong.
"Hey everybody, this is Paul Stanley, and this is Gene Simmons from KISS. And we have a very important announcement. Do not panic. We have a very important announcement about the KISS cruise."
At that moment, my friends on the ship said that all the fans had stopped in their tracks and were looking at the speakers and smiling until the next words that came out of my mouth.
"We've just hit an iceberg."
Which, keep in mind, when I said we've just hit an iceberg, we're in the middle of the Bahamas.
No icebergs.
There's
people.
no reason
Too soon.
for you as an intelligent person to go, "This ship's going down. We're in the Bahamas."
Right.
But do not panic because KISS is going to take care of everybody on the ship.
Oh, God.
We actually have 3 packages to get you off the boat. First, we have the platinum package, $5,000. We'll put you in a life raft and you have your own private photo with KISS. Then we have the platinum package.
Every package that I described, it was all BS. But apparently, KISS fans kept running to the employees and saying, "So KISS is going to charge us again now to get off the boat?" They actually, it was so believable that KISS would actually charge you for the extra medical care that they actually got upset about it. So, yeah. So when the Wednesday and Thursday shows at New Hope Cinema are going to be dedicated to doing KISS material, and then Friday and Saturday is going to be regular shows. But cinemagrill.com for the tickets. And every time I come in, I just love hearing stories. I'm a huge radio fan. I'm a huge comedy fan. And it's been really neat coming in every couple of years and hearing a little more insight into your point of view of this crazy this intersection that comedians and radio people meet in, where they need each other, and the history. I mean, it's insane to look at Andy looking so normal when he went through
that's true.
The amount of absolutely insane people from his childhood. From his childhood.
Well, I told you, I forgot it all.
Every once in a while, we're watching a TV show and we're like, "Oh, he's been at the house. Oh, that guy's been over. Oh, we know them."
Wow.
And we think, and he always says, "You think it's weird for our kids, when they watch something and they see somebody that's been over to the house or that we've been out to dinner with?" And I'm like, "No, because that's just been their life.
Right.
They don't know any different. It's
Like
just
if you
people with cool jobs.
If you had started that job when I was 20, I would have been super weird. But the fact that it had been happening since I was born,
Right.
You can get used to anything.
By the way, when I see people that I know in movies or TV shows, I don't know about you, but one of my favorite pastimes is to exaggerate my friendship with that person. And like, if I'm watching a movie and I go, oh my God, I know this dude, this guy is one of my best friends. Like, you know him? Dude, Tom Bernard taught me how to fight when I was 12. Okay, I'll just whatever. I'll call him right now if he gave me his phone number. But yeah, I know Tom. Of course, I know Tom Bernard. We go way back. Like, yeah, I love exaggerating my friendships with people and just trying to make them into something that they're not. But
you know what I love about having guys like you in studio? I mean, particularly you, is you just gave me these memories because. For some reason, Gene Simmons used to come into studio all the time. He would come in all the time. First time he came in, there was a legendary sports writer in town named Sid Hartman. Sid, everybody knew who he was and all the rest of it. So he called there was an old deli called the Lincoln Dell. Okay. And Sid calls me and says, he talked like this. I'm going to be over at the Lincoln Dell. Come on over. Have a little lunch. Be unbelievable. Sid at the time was like 85 years old, but he and and his son Chad and I are really good friends now. But so I go over there. I'm going to go over there, and I said, Sid, I got to bring somebody with me because they're with me right now. He goes, yeah, bring whoever you want. I don't care. Sitting at lunch with Sid Hartman and Gene Simmons at the Lincoln Dell. I will never see those things. I talk about and people go, that never happened. It's like, yeah, it did. I mean, and you know that stuff happened.
Of course.
These two were, and of course, all they did the entire lunch was talk about what it meant to be a Jew in America.
That is hilarious.
It's what they talked about.
I was going to say, what's unbelievable about two elderly Jews at a deli?
Well, that's a good point. But the close of that story, so Sid, we say goodbye, and they're exchanging phone numbers so they can call each other. So I take Gene back to the station, and he goes in. Now, people don't know this, but Gene Simmons is a very big guy.
Absolutely.
I think
he's 6'4".
Yeah, like 6'4", very broad-shouldered.
Yep.
I mean, he's a big guy. Mm-hmm. So he said, "Why don't we just duck into one of the studios?" Because he said, "I just had a great lunch, and he didn't want to meet a whole bunch more. He just wanted a couple moments to ourselves, just sitting there, right?" So we go in, and I sit down in a chair, and he decides to sit on the desk. It was one of those desks that were attached to the wall. That thing came off that wall in a heartbeat. I mean, he just went crashing to the ground. I said, Gene, you're a little big to be sitting on a desk like that. I mean, Jesus. Seeing Gene Simmons sitting on the floor looking up at me like, you dumbass. I was like, I didn't tell you to sit there.
Oh, that's amazing.
But isn't that great about life? All the people that you've met. I mean, those guys this morning on the show, Tevin and AJ, the look on their faces, just watching you do what you do is every time you come in. I love that.
Me too. And I love that the people I do impressions of try to meet me.
Yeah.
Gene Simmons. I live in Vegas now. When I was looking for an apartment or a house to live in Vegas, I tweeted out that I was at the Rio Hotel. There was something funny going on in the Rio. And so I posted, this is at the Rio right now. And I got a text from a guy who works for KISS, and he said, "Are you at the Rio Casino right now in Vegas?" And I said, "I am, buddy. What's going on?" And he said, "There's a KISS mini golf downstairs at Rio."
There is?
And yeah, and they said, he goes, "Gene Simmons is here.
Oh,
he wants to talk to you."
There you go.
And I just didn't reply. Yep. I was scared because I've never been alone with Gene. I've never been alone with him. So I didn't reply. 30 minutes later, a comedian friend of mine calls me up and says, "What are you doing right now?" And I go, "I'm avoiding Gene Simmons right now."
I'm hiding from
And he goes, "What do you mean you're avoiding Gene Simmons?" I go, "I'm in Las Vegas right now. I'm at the Rio Hotel." And I tweeted about it. And somebody who works for KISS just texted me and said, "Hey, you're at the Rio. I'm downstairs. There's a KISS mini golf downstairs in the Rio, and Gene Simmons is there." And he said, "Gene wants to talk to you." And he goes, "So why aren't you going down?" I said, "I've never been alone." Like he laughs, but he looks uncomfortable every time I'm around him.
Yeah.
And I think this might be the moment he finally kicks my ass. And I'm not going down there. And my comedian buddy goes, Are you kidding me? If Gene Simmons beat the shit out of you at Kiss Mini Golf, don't you realize how great that story would be? And I said, you know what? You're right. I put my flip flops on and I came upstairs. And Gene Simmons is at Kiss Mini Golf. He's hosting 2 gentlemen who have each paid $5,000 apiece to hang out with him for the afternoon. And when I walked up, he said, "All right, go ahead."
Do the thing.
I go, do what? Well, go ahead. What? And he goes, "You know you want to go." I go, "Oh, you want me to do the impression?" Okay. I do an impression of him, and I don't know if he likes it or not. So I start doing impressions for the guys, and I try to tell a joke, and Gene goes, "No, come on, voices, go, come on, get the voice." I go, all right.
Wow.
So I start doing impressions, and then his friends say, "Hey, so how much do you have to practice to get that?" And I said, "Well, I've always had an ability because my whole family's deaf, and so I could just I just have an ear for it." And they said, "Is that true?" And I go, "Yeah, it sounds like a joke, but it's not. My whole family's deaf." And Gene goes, "It's true. His family's deaf, and he's dumb." And I went, "What do you? You brought me down here for this." Like
he did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's been incredible to me, and when he got done with that appearance, he walked right out the front door, Kiss Mini Golf, and went out the public exit into a car. And I looked at the people that worked there and I went, "Isn't he going to get bothered?" And they said, "Oh, no, he loves it. He loves when people." And I go, "Get out of here." And one of the guys there said, he did an appearance here 2 years ago, came up in an Escalade. I went out to greet him. He gets out, same entrance you're looking at that he just walked out. He gets out of the Escalade, looks over. There's a group of 10 people over here. They don't notice it's him. And he looks over to the other side. There's another group of people over here. They don't notice him. He leaned down and cupped his hands together and said, "Hey, look, it's Gene Simmons from Kiss." And then everybody went, "Oh my God." And he goes, "Hi, how are you? What's your name?" And he did it himself.
That's
He
hilarious.
did it himself. Yeah. Oh, absolutely incredible. So yeah, you meet some interesting characters, and it's just a neat thing. I'm a fan of the people who I do voices of. And when you see the show this weekend in New Hope, it's just impressions and then stories about the people who I do impressions of who've tried to meet me over the years. But Wednesday and Thursday, I'm just going to make fun of Kiss for most of the show. So
But Friday and Saturday, you got to work twice as hard.
Friday and Saturday is a more traditional comedy show. So cinemagrill.com for the tickets for the comedy shows up in New Hope Wednesday through Saturday this weekend.
And of course, if you find any time to come back and see Uncle Tommy,
I would love to.
God, it's just so great having you in studio.
I would love to.
All of those memories come flooding back.
Yeah, and it's really neat to hear about. It is really, it's just, there's such a wealth of content that you have just from the experiences of having these lunatics around your children. So
that's very true.
It's nuts.
But I forget about that. I forget about all of these people. You do end up thinking, well, who haven't I met?
Right.
Because you met so many people. I mean, it's something else.
It's crazy when you don't realize you have met somebody and somebody has to remind you.
Yeah, that does happen.
Over the years.
Like, yeah, you did. Remember blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, I do remember that. Yeah, that's a crazy one too.
Well, you got the number, Pally. You're always welcome.
Thank you. By the way, I want to show you what you said something to me years ago, and I put it in your phone number because this is what you said to me when I called you about something, and I said, "Oh, okay," and I made a note of it on your phone number. This is how I have your phone your number in my phone.
Doesn't text.
Tom doesn't text Bernard.
You're right.
He told me what I did today.
Yeah, he said, I go, all right, because at some point we said something about getting together. And I said, all right, I'll shoot you a text. And he said, don't text me. I don't text. And I said, oh, okay. It was such a strong, like, hey, don't do that. Call me. And I said, all right. So I put it in the phone. Tom doesn't text Bernard.
Yeah, he's very proud of his lack of knowledge of technology.
That's great. I adore it.
Knowledge of technology. She goes after me.
Thank you to all you guys for making me feel welcome every time I come in.
We do have a quick recommendation that you write a book before the show ends. I mean, not write the book before the show ends.
Yeah, well, there's a notepad.
Get writing very quickly.
Did Tom write a book?
No, you.
Oh my. Well, it's interesting. I'm actually starting a podcast called I Swear This Is True. Ooh. And it's just all these stories that sound hard to believe living at Eddie Van Halen's house, living with Mitch Hedberg, being the only comedian to open for Metallica and System of a Down and Motley Crue, being on the field of the Super Bowl when my favorite team won the Super Bowl, and being invited into their locker room to celebrate when they won the Super Bowl, being invited to mission control at NASA, where they put my face up for the astronauts to look at me, like all these surreal experiences that I'm going to share. And what I'm doing is I'm bringing everyone that was there to be a part of the conversations, to say, yeah, I remember, and this is what happened, when all the witnesses. Can I give you 2 quick ones?
Absolutely.
Okay. One of them is that I'm taping next week is my ex-girlfriend, Jill. We were walking through Times Square on our way to Saturday Night Live. I used to write for Weekend Update, and we're going to go to Saturday Night Live. And she starts explaining to me the concept of a hall pass. And the hall pass, I didn't know at the time, was, well, if I ever meet this one celebrity, that's my hall pass. I get to, because when am I ever going to have that chance? I get to hook up with. And I said, so who's your hall pass? And she goes, Jude Law. And I go, really? And she goes, yeah. And the singer of Bush. And I said, oh, okay. And she goes, and Bruce Willis. And then she started naming all these people. And I went, what? Okay, wait. So how many celebrities are you not going to have sex with when you know? And then she said, who's your hall pass? And I said, like, who do I think is hot? Like, she goes, yeah, the one person that if you ever were into the room with them, and I'd said, there's nobody. I don't think anybody's hot. She said, really? And I go, yeah, no, I mean, there's, I mean, there was what was that one girl that was in that one movie, Devil Wears Prada, Anne Hathaway. And she said, really? And I said, yeah, but only in that movie. I think she looked perfect in that movie. And she goes, so Anne Hathaway. And I go, Anne Hathaway. Yeah, I guess that's my one hall pass. If I'm ever in a room with Anne Hathaway. 10 minutes later, we go in the NBC building at 30 Rockefeller, and we go up to the 8th floor. The elevator door opens up. I see a comedian friend of mine, Maddie Goldberg, right at the elevator. And he goes, what are you doing here? And I go, what are you doing here? And he goes, oh, we're hanging out in Lorne Michaels' office. And I go, oh, I've never been there. And he goes, come on. And we go walking down the hallway, and he opens the door, and this woman turns around and looks right at me. It's Anne Hathaway.
10 minutes later.
And my girlfriend goes, you are fucking kidding me. And I go, oh, and my girlfriend is like, you're fucking, and Anne keeps looking at us like, wait, what's going on? What's going on? Yeah. And Maddie's talking to me, and I won't look at Anne Hathaway. I won't look at my girlfriend and go, yeah, keep talking, Maddie. Keep talking, Maddie. Yeah, it's great to see you. So what have you been up to? You doing good? You doing a lot of writing? Yeah. Saturday Night Live, that's a good gig, right? And I just, Anne Hathaway is looking at me like, she's giving me a look like, where do I know that guy from? And on my left is my girlfriend's head is on a swivel going, you fucking kidding me. Like, yeah. The other story is when I was 15 years old, huge rock music fan. A friend of mine told me that Whitesnake was staying at this hotel in town the night before their sold out show. Whitesnake was one of the biggest bands in the world at the time with MTV. I went to the hotel and I saw one of the guys in the band, Rudy Sarzo, who was in Quiet Riot. Then he's in Whitesnake, and now he plays in a couple different bands. And we actually had a 2-hour conversation, me and this guy from Whitesnake, which ended with him saying, well, hey, I got to go, but do you have a car? And I lied to him and said, yeah, what do you need? And he said, he goes, I want to go shopping tomorrow before I go home because this tour is about to end. I need to get some comforters and sheets. And so I need to go shopping. And I said, yeah, what time do you want me to come by? And he goes, can you come by at 2:00? And one of the other guys from the band is going to come with us. And I go to school the next day and I went, who wants to take Whitesnake shopping? Who wants to take Whitesnake? I need somebody with a car. Who has a car and wants to take Whitesnake shopping? And a friend of mine who wasn't into that music at all said, I hate Whitesnake, but I'll take him shopping, because he was into Depeche Mode and OMD and The Cure. That guy, by the way, grew up to be a priest. And he said, he goes, I'll take him shopping. So we took Whitesnake shopping at the mall, where all the Whitesnake fans would hang out. That were all my friends. And then he got us tickets and passes to the show, and we got to hang out and meet everybody in the band. 15 years later, I am backstage at a rock concert in Los Angeles at the Forum in LA. And they have this room called the Forum Club. that is a private room for VIPs. And I get a tap on my shoulder. I turn around. It's Rudy Sarzo and his wife, Rebecca. And he said, "Hi, Craig. I'm sorry to bother you, but my name's Rudy. I'm a musician. And this is my wife, Rebecca. We are huge fans of yours. And we listen to you all the time on the radio." And I went, "Rudy, you're not going to believe this." But do you remember a 15-year-old kid in Tucson, Arizona, taking you shopping? And he said, "For comforters and sheets?" And I said, "For comforters and sheets." And he went, "Craig, I'm so proud of you." And he gave me a hug, and I went, yeah.
That's
So,
phenomenal.
and
That's a great story.
Rudy's going to come on and share the story. So stories like that, and there's hundreds of them, hundreds of stories that like you, I want to lay them all out there and get all the people involved to say, "Oh yeah, not only is it true, I was there and I remember A, B, and C." So yeah,
that'll be a great podcast.
And your book falls out of that. It just falls.
Absolutely.
Out of
That's right.
Yeah, it actually started. I started bringing all the memories up in 2020. I turned 50 in 2020, and I wanted to write a thank you note every day, which I did on Facebook. I wrote 366 thank you notes for people that had a positive influence on my life, and that's where all the stories came out. And what was weird is as 2020 starts to unravel, the whole world starts collapsing, and all this negativity and anger starts coming to the surface. And I'm dedicated to every day going, "So let me tell you why I love Tom." And it just, I was committed to finishing this daily project of thank you notes.
Fresh air.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah. That's what a lot of people were saying at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, cinemagrill.com. Come out to the shows and have some fun and a lot of positive energy and up in New Hope.
Wednesday, Thursday, at what time?
Wednesday, Thursday at 7. And then the weekends, Friday and Saturday, there's 2 shows, 7 and 9 on Friday, 6 and 8 on Saturday.
Very good. All right. Well, I'd love to see you back in the studio this week sometime.
I'm down for that. We'll coordinate it. I'll text you and we'll figure it out.
I'd love it. Thanks a lot, pal.
Thank you, buddy.
That's going to do it.
Bye.
Every time I hear the singing reminds me how you talking.